a smirk. George smacked her hand against her chest in mock dismay. I too, Nancy? Don't worry, I said with a laugh. I'll try the poutine. We both will. Isn't that right, Bess? Oh, all right, Bess said. But right now, I'd much rather have a hot cocoa. How long before you're supposed to meet Louise at the hotel, Nancy? I checked my watch. It was only 10:15, and I wasn't expected at Chateau Frontenac until 11. We've got plenty of time. Why don't we get out here and walk? We don't have a lot of baggage to carry, and we can pick up a snack on the way. Sounds perfect, George replied, pulling the furry hood over her short, dark hair. 45 minutes to stuff ourselves with Canadian delights before Nancy goes to the dogs. I chuckled and pulled out some Canadian bills to pay the driver. It was, in fact, dogs that had brought the three of us to Quebec City. A week ago, my father got a frantic call from an old friend of his, Louise Alain. She used to work for him as a paralegal many years ago before moving back to Quebec, where she grew up to raise show dogs. Louise had slipped on a patch of ice outside her house and broken her ankle, but that wasn't the real problem. The biggest dog show of the year was coming up in a week, and she couldn't walk. She desperately needed someone to step in and be her show dog's handler, or else she'd have to drop out of the show. I had recently learned that handler was the term used to describe the person who guides show dogs around the arena during competitions. Unfortunately, Louise's backup handler had been stricken with the flu, and her options were slim. So she was calling in an old favor, hoping her old boss's daughter might be willing to take a free vacation in exchange for a couple of days' work. Being that we were already on a winter holiday from school, and that she was willing to pay for George and Bess as well, so I wouldn't have to travel alone, I was only too happy to oblige. I didn't know the first thing about being a dog handler, of course, but Louise assured me over the phone that she would teach me everything I needed to know. You always had a way with animals, Louise had said. I'm sure you'll do great. Still, as I got out of the car and felt the first blast of cold Canadian air on my face, I realized that it wasn't the only thing making me shiver. Bess must have noticed my expression as we pulled our bags from the trunk of the taxi. Oh, Nancy, you're not nervous, are you? She asked. I mean, a little bit, I answered truthfully. Being in front of huge crowds of people isn't my favorite thing in the world. Nance, you need to relax and have fun, George exclaimed, slapping me on the back. Look where we are. If you can handle a constant parade of criminals, saboteurs, and petty thieves, you can handle walking a bull terrier around in a big circle. What's the worst that could happen? I smirked. George, I said, did you forget who you're talking to? I think that statement could probably be filed under famous last words. It was true. Nothing is ever quite so simple when you're an amateur detective with a penchant for attracting trouble everywhere you go. But George was right about one thing. We were in a winter wonderland, so the best thing I could do right now was enjoy it. We found ourselves standing on Rue Saint-Louis, just under the shadow of a beautiful stone bridge. The bridge boasted domed towers and a crenellated archway that looked like it should be part of an ancient castle. To our left, in a large clearing dotted with trees, some carnival goers were wandering into a modern-looking building made entirely of ice, while nearby, a crowd cheered on two teams of young athletes playing a competitive game of hockey. This is amazing, Bess said, her blue eyes taking it all in. There's so much to see. I know, right? George replied. That's the annual ice palace over there. It's where Bonhomme lives. We've got to go visit before we leave. Who's Bonhomme? I asked. He looks kind of like a snowman wearing a red hat, George replied. He's like the king of the carnival. He's supposed to be the spirit of happiness, who brings the spring after winter. Well then, we'd better get a selfie with him, Bess said seriously. You know, for the flowers.